you were saying was all hail the king.
Yes.
Israel, hey, Odesanya. Hey, I'm saying it too now. Odes, you want to be called
Adesanya.
You want to be called Adesanya? Okay.
It's like he disses on ya. He disses on ya. You get me?
You change it, Izzy? Okay, son, I see you. You want to change your name? I see you, Izzy. You want to do whatever you want to do. I'm on board because, bro, he put it on that man last night. He put it on Paulo Costa and made him look like he didn't even belong. And that's tough to do, right? Paulo Costa is as good as they come, and Izzy made him look like a rank amateur. It was a pro versus an amateur out there. It was not competitive. There was no second of that fight where you thought Costa had a chance. And once again, it shows, man, that he is the absolute class of the UFC middleweight division, and just further proves that they're playing catch up. They're playing catch up from a very, very massive head start by the champ Izzy. I mean, he's the man.
You know, it's interesting because a lot of people were buying into the fact that he wasn't as good as we said he was, all this stuff. And even on Saturday, even when I was talking to Chael and Brett after the fight, they were talking about they wanted to start with what Paulo didn't do, that he didn't bring the fight to him, that he didn't show up, all this stuff. The story isn't that. That's not the story. The story is that arguably for the third straight fight, DC, Izzy has left a great fighter just sort of frozen in there, right? Like you can make the case he did it to Robert Whittaker. He certainly did it to Yoel Romero, and he did it to Paulo Costa. It's because he's so good. The story is there are levels to this game, as we've been reminded over the years. He is so far and away better than everyone at 185 right now. Once again, Costa didn't know what to do with him. That was all Izzy. To say that it was Costa not bringing the fight to him, to me, is a disservice to what Izzy did in there.
Oh, Ariel. If Paulo Costa attacked, he was done. So it's damned if you do, and it's damned if you don't. Because if he attacked Israel Adesanya, Izzy's one of the best counter strikers in the entire world. He can counter, and that's what happened with Robert Whittaker. Remember, Robert Whittaker brought it to him. He tried to go forward, and he got knocked out. He put himself in trouble at the end of the first round, got dropped, and the fight was pretty much over. Second round, he went right back to that and got dropped with that left hook that put him to sleep. So, damn, if I do bring the pressure, this dude can knock me out. So Paulo Costa goes, I am going to fight every urge, every fight, and every instinct that I have to go and chase this dude down. I'm going to fight that, and I'm going to stay at range and be more patient. Damn, because I didn't, right? So it's damned if you do, Robert Whittaker, and it's damned if you don't, Paulo Costa, because if you stay at range, he is going to pick you apart.
Israel is in a situation where he doesn't really have many top contenders that he hasn't already beaten at 185 pounds. And then John Jones, who he seemed to want to chase, John Jones has moved up to heavyweight. So it's sort of an interesting situation for Adesanya because he's right now as good as it gets, right? Like, I honestly, I think he should definitely be considered pound for pound. If you look at what he's done, undefeated, we don't really have that. And then the way that he beat Costa was another undefeated fighter. I mean, definitely has to be in talks for pound, definitely top 2, 3, right? If not 1. But he's sort of stuck now without any massive challenges.
He is, but there's still some work to do yet before he moves up to chase potentially Jones, Blachowicz, whoever it is, whatever it is. He's still got some work to do. But, I mean, if you look at his UFC resume, Marvin Vettori beaten by split decision. Well, Marvin Vettori right now is looking fantastic. You know, and I'd actually like to see that fight again because Vettori has got better. But still, he beat Vettori, beat Brad Tavares, who's a tough fight for anybody. Derek Brunson finished him. Anderson Silva.
I want to ask you a question about Vettori, though. So just in your opinion, sort of looking back at that, it's a younger Israel Adesanya who is inexperienced, hasn't been in the big show multiple times. I mean, you have to assume that Israel's probably grown tremendously since that.
Oh, yeah. No, of course. Yeah, but just let me, if you go through here. So you got Anderson Silva, then Kelvin Gastelum. That was a close fight. The Kelvin Gastelum fight, I think I mentioned it last week. That's kind of why I thought Costa would have issues, but I didn't realize Costa was I don't know, what should we say? All fucking show, all show and no go, all fucking biceps and no fucking balls. You know what I mean? Whichever one you want to call it, but that's kind of what happened. Yo Romero, Robert Whittaker, Paulo Costa. You can't fucking doubt the guy, right? He went out there and has beaten nearly everybody. Now he's called that Jared Cannonier. That is the next logical guy. If he beats, who's he fighting?
Robert
Jack
Whittaker.
Hermanson?
Right?
Oh, Robert Whittaker, correct. He's fighting Robert Whittaker. Yeah, so that's a tough fight. But if he does Jared Cannonier, that'll be good.
I think Jan put on an impressive performance, but I think the theme with that is Dominic Reyes just didn't show up. I think ring rust was a factor. I think him going all 5 rounds with John Jones and the media telling him that he won that fight, he had this weird kind of, I don't want to say arrogance, but almost assumption that Jan's not John Jones. Look what I did to John Jones. Everyone thinks I beat him. I'm going to destroy Jan. It's just not the way it works. It's just, fighting, especially at that level, is about matchups. It's a different matchup, a different problem to solve. You're not going to win by what you did in your previous fight. And he had a long layoff. In that John Jones fight, he was exhausted, even though his output was insane. And he went right at the greatest to ever do it. He went right at him and had a high output. He was a little reserved, and maybe he didn't want to get tired. Maybe he didn't want to, maybe Dominic Cruz always says, ring rust isn't real. Ring rust isn't real, which I beg to differ, but if you should probably side with Dominic Cruz because he's one of the greatest to do it. But I think it's case by case. Each guy is different. Each guy is different in the way he approaches the fight, the way he handles the fight mentally. And for Dominic Reyes, who doesn't have a ton of experience when you look at the grand scheme of things, and Jan Blachowicz does, Dominic Reyes, ring rust is a factor. And I think you include the ring rust, not fighting for quite some time, the arrogance of going 5 rounds with John Jones and the media telling you that you beat him. I think that was the perfect shitstorm for him to lose this fight. And Jan looked good. But I'll tell you this again, I'm not taking anything away from the Polish power champ. I do think that's going to be a rotating belt at light heavyweight. You look at Thiago Santos, who's beat Jan before. If he were to get by Glover Teixeira, he's getting a title shot. You look at some of the matchups out there, Gus Finn, who's going to probably cut back down to light heavyweight. He beat Jan before, even though it was decision. So there's a lot of fun matchups there. But I think that belt's going to rotate for a little while. It's going to rotate for a little while, man. But Jan looked fantastic. Had his pregnant wife in his corner, which is really cool, and I'm sure it's a great moment for them. And you talk about a guy who's been doing it for a long time, so ring rust isn't a factor for a guy that's been fighting for that long, for that many years. He's been there before. He's had big layoffs before. Dominic Reyes has, he just hasn't been doing it as long. So Adi Atir, the manager of both Pacquiao and McGregor, told ESPN on Friday the fight was not a done deal just yet, but it's being seriously discussed, which means they're trying to figure out money. The following day, the assistant of Pacquiao, Jake
Josin?
Yeah,
Jake Josin, I think.
Jake Josin confirmed the fight. For the sake of all Filipino COVID-19 victims, Senator Manny Pacquiao will be fighting UFC superstar Conor McGregor next year. The huge portion of his earnings will proceed to those who are affected by a nationwide pandemic.
Yeah. I remember you didn't like the fight for him before.
I think it's a worse matchup than Mayweather.
Yeah.
His style, I don't like it for Conor. But you know what? I do like the money Conor's going to make from it. So sign me up. Where do I start hyping this thing? All right, let's do it, man. If that's what you want to do and the amount of money you're going to make on it, let's do it. Sure. But I would assume he's done with mixed martial arts if that's what he does.
Just one more fight in boxing.
Make another 100, 150 million, and then it's like, what are you going to come back? In the chance that he's going to be a huge underdog in that fight. If you thought he was an underdog against Floyd, he's going to be a bigger underdog against Manny. You got to remember, Manny just beat fucking... he just beat Keith Thurman.
Wow.
You know how fucking good Keith Thurman is at boxing? You know how fucking good Keith Thurman is at boxing? Manny just beat him last year, dude. Manny's like active. He fought Floyd, 49-0, counter fighter, defensive fighter, non-aggressive style, older, and he did win some rounds and landed a good uppercut. Manny's a different animal. You're talking about a guy who's in the game. Yeah, he's a, politician over there, but he's in the game, dude. He's still hunting world championships. And his aggressive style, his knockout style, it's a tougher fight for Conor. But again, 150 mil, 200 mil, what the fuck they're going to pay him? Do it, dude. Get your money. I'm going to hype the shit out of this thing. What's this?
Also, since reading the DMs, it seems like Conor is just super into fighting too and being in the limelight. So
yeah.
I think
I don't think it's limelight. I think he's really down to fight. He's a straight up fighter. Even though he has $300 million in the bank, he's like, dude, give me this guy. Give me Diego. Let's do Gaethje.
Yeah.
Let's do this. And Daniel's like, no. And he goes, oh, he's turned down all these fights. I think he's retired. Conor's like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? I'm ready to go. Let's go, man. And it sounds like it's not happening. So he's like, all right, I'm going to go make $1 jigillion over here fighting Manny Pacquiao. Which Khabib, Tony, Poirier, all of them are better matchups in combat sports than Manny Pacquiao for Conor. That is not fun for Conor McGregor. That is a tough matchup.
All right, this is
Get
the one.
paid, dog. Good for you, though.
So I think Conor probably would go back to UFC after that fight since he's so down to fight.
Yeah, you're right.
All right.
The kid wants the kid wants to do it.